1, 2.
Okay, 2, 1.
Here's your live, folks. 30 more seconds.
I'll give it to you right now. It's a password.
All right, I think we've got everybody except for Chris. And Topher's not going to be here. James is retired. Student reps are off to join their summers. So, all right, let's get started at 6 o'clock. We have the newbie do the Pledge of Allegiance. Kate, you want to lead us?
I'm not new yet. I'm just here.
Oh, well, okay. Probationary. Al, you're closest. Please talk.
All right, that's everybody's off. Ready? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the final board meeting of the year. Probably even a supplemental extra board meeting for the year. We don't have any speaker slips, I don't believe. Nope. Okay. We'll jump into board member comments. We've got a heavy Zoom attendance. Chris is rocking some kind of jersey, which is pretty cool. Avalanche. There we go. All right. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order here? Okay, I'm going to keep things moving. Reports and presentation. Treasurer fiscal report. I don't see Josh.
Josh is on Zoom, I believe.
Yes.
And I can walk through it, or he's gonna start it.
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. Josh, you want to get rolling on the treasurer report?
Yes, so, hi everyone, hopefully everyone can hear me. So we are going over two things today. The first thing is the approval of the 22-23 preliminary budget. You'll see that later on the agenda as the board will vote on it. But in essence, what that is that's a report that you will start the fiscal year with as your preliminary budget. And in essence, once the board approves it, it will get sent to the district as a part of the school's compliance. So that's the first thing, and I'll just go over that right now so that we can get that out of the way before I go to the second thing. So you should all have a document that says Old Town Academy in the top right-hand corner, it says CSMC. That is the document that I'm going to talk about right now. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. You should also, by the way, have another document that is a district template. It's a little bit of a messy template, but that's ultimately what's going to get sent to the district. But for the sake of this discussion, I'm just going to go over the CSMC template because that summarizes what's getting sent to the district. Hopefully that makes sense. So if you have the CSMC template in front of you, I'll overview the highlights of what we are what we will be submitting. So the first column should say 21-22 estimated actuals, and in that column, if you look down where it says surplus/deficit, negative 136,115. So that is our current projection of how we expect to end this fiscal year. Now it's not going to be that exact number due to various estimates and things that have changed. But the main point of what we're telling the board is we expect the school to end at a negative this year of potentially around 130,000, give or take. So that's how this year is projecting. In the second column, you're going to see the 2022-23 preliminary budget. This is the budget that we've worked with the school and the admin and team and Michael on just what we want to start and shoot for next year's budget. The main things to kind of point out here are total enrollment is 266. That's what we budgeted. Average daily attendance, we're budgeting for 253. So assuming the school can hit those two numbers, the school will be off to a good start revenue. So we went through, we tried to make adjustments to salaries for the board's request and positions according to the school's needs, and we added and took it out expenses to try to get us to a regional point. And after going through all the revenue and expenses, if you look down in that same column where it says surplus/deficit, you see that it says a negative 198,087. So what that is showing is, as of now, when we develop preliminary budget that we want the board to approve and we want to send to the district, with these numbers, assuming the school hits them, we're budgeting for $198,000 deficit next year. Now, though that is a troubling sign, there is a little bit of hope on the horizon. The governor's May revised budget was very helpful for schools. There were one-time monies, there was COLA increases for ADA and those types of things. So there is, none of that is factored into this budget. So there is a chance that once it passes through legislation, that a lot of numbers could be positively, favorably increase the revenue side of this budget. Fortunately, we don't actually have any of those numbers right now to know for sure, but that would be the good news in the midst of presenting a budget that suggests the school runs at a deficit of 198,087. So that's the really high level presentation for this budget. Does anyone have any questions?
Josh, I know that we've gone over this a few times, and I just want to kind of ask you, assuming that that things don't change, that can you hear me okay?
Kind of. I don't know if there's.
Right there, am I talking
Mic
about
is
this
maybe-
or over there? I'm gonna go to over here. Okay, is this better, Josh?
Yes.
Okay, so assuming that we are, that nothing changed dramatically, and we're presenting this as our preliminary budget, to the powers that be, what is the perception of this negative 198? How is that going to be? Do we have an opportunity to explain to the folks reviewing? Do we, is there a discussion after it's submitted, or is this just something that's going to be a kind of a black mark that we're going to?
Yeah, so what I've seen in the past is once we submit this, we won't actually have any dialogue with the district. It'll just get submitted and they'll forward it on to the state of California just to meet compliance. Now, what might happen is the next time the district comes and visits the school, they will come and ask and point out like, hey, we noticed that you have a reserve, but you are projecting a negative deficit. Can we just get some explanation on that, or can you give us an insight, or is the board aware? Are you guys making remedy of the situation? What is the plan for that? So that would be the only time I've ever seen the district actually ask questions about it. And even then, it's not so much it's more like a yellow flag. We want the school to be aware that, for their own sake, they shouldn't be trending this way. And then, of course, they'll want to make sure the board is aware. So, yeah, no like major red flag, though. Definitely a yellow flag. If that answers the question.
Yeah, and, hey, Josh, one other thing that I noticed on here, and I should have caught this the other day, and I'm sorry, I for some reason just now did. As I understand it, the foundation has committed to 90,000 a year, not 75,000, and that I saw in the budget here that's got it at 75 for the other local revenue, which I think is what is listed as the foundation's commitment. Is there a reason we left it? Or you turned it to 75 instead of 90?
I don't know that I ever heard. I know there was a lot of talk like, oh, we're pretty sure that number is going to be higher, but I don't know that I ever got a final number.
Yeah,
and so the only reason why it's 75 doesn't move that up.
Yeah, so historically, we have the board president here who certainly can back this up. Historically, it's been $90,000 a year. We budgeted for that, and there has been no indication of that changing for next year. The number was a little lower this year because of some of the allocation of funds, but the 90,000 is what needs to be built into the budget.
Yeah, so what I can do is, if you just want me to change the 75 to 90 after this call and before I send it to the district, I can tweak that.
Yeah, I don't know
And
if
then I
anybody
guess
else.
you guys can.
Yeah, if anybody has an objection to that or anything, but I think that's it's 15 grand on $190,000 benefit or a deficit. It's not going to make any optical difference, but I want to make sure we're staying true to it. Because to your point, look, we've got some we've got some room built into this budget. This is not a worst case scenario, but it certainly is a little more pessimistic than it is optimistic, right? It's got us at 266, not 270. I think that makes sense given kind of the history. It doesn't build in any kind of raise from the state of California, like you mentioned, per student raise. And so there's some things in here that are not built in that I think we've got some good newsroom.
Doesn't account for any potential grant revenue.
Right, exactly right. And so I think to your point, I don't think anybody's going to look at this closely enough for it to matter at the state level today. At a charter renewal, at an audit, those kind of things start coming up. We can certainly answer to all this, but I think that's one where I think 75 is conservative for no reason, right? If the foundation has the money in the bank, they've made the commitment at 90. We've always budgeted at 90. I think we need to keep it there. And then let whoever the new treasurer is deal with it.
What is this, $15,000 variance? Okay, that's a good point. I'm supportive of that. I guess you said it, Josh, but just so I'm crystal clear, this does include the proposed salary adjustments we talked about in our last session.
This does include the latest thing. Yeah, I had the school send me the list of what the revised salaries would be, and that list that I just could get from them is inputted in here. Yes.
And for guys. Anybody else have any questions on this?
Salary adjustments.
Yeah, I've got one question on the grants landscape. This is Kristen on the video. We have discussed, and I know James has been, and others have been involved in grant applications, and I don't see that anywhere on the agenda. I don't know, and I guess this is really a question for Josh, maybe more for somebody else on the board about where are we going to get some kind of update? Because I think that the grants that have been put out there really are a better news story for us and would give us, I don't know if there's any plan to give an update on. where we are.
Kristen, there's no update currently. I can tell you, James and I have been working on it. I actually spent about an hour and a half today filling out some detailed paperwork and hitting up some people who've done some grant stuff previously, asking for some information that we turned in before. So there's no news. We did get the money for, was it $87,000, I think, that we had gotten earlier this year. And then we've got another that we're working towards. And so there's nothing to announce. There's no award of a grant yet, but we are getting closer and closer and feeling good that there's some opportunities on the horizon. And as soon as we can hear anything, we certainly would bring it to the board or the foundation would bring it to the board and share it with everybody.
Okay, thanks.
So if there's not any other questions on the budget, then I think I didn't hear any pushback. So eventually, when you guys approve the budget, I will be changing the 75 to 90 based off Michael's comment. And, that'll probably push the deficit from 198,000 to 100, what is that, 183,000? I'm doing the math correctly. Does that sound like the direction we want to go?
Yes.
Yeah, and when we vote on it, we'll have that stipulation in the vote, but that'll come later.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I'll tweak it and send it in accordingly. But yeah, definitely put it on the vote. Okay, so no other questions in regards to the budget. Then I will move on to the second piece, which is the 2021-22 and then the 2022-23 EPA, which stands for the Education Protection Account. You'll notice later on in your agenda that it is an approval item and it does need the board to vote on it and thus approve. What it is it's just a compliance piece. The state allocates a certain amount of money to your school and all the other schools that come out of this particular account. One of the qualifications about getting this money though is that the school has to document at a board meeting that they will spend this money in a instructional manner rather than an administrative. So all you're doing is you're voting that the school will spend this money in 22-23, which is estimated to be $50,540, in 21-22, which is estimated to be 49,368, specifically on instructional services, not administrative. And we've even kind of itemized it to say, we're gonna spend it directly on teacher salaries to meet this piece of compliance. So not too much thinking needed here, unless you guys have any big objections for whatever reasons. I don't think so, but that's all that particular item in your agenda is about, and that's what you'll be approving.
Does the resolution that we're looking at, does that have to get read into the meeting, or is it just something that we acknowledge?
I don't think you have to read the whole thing, given that I just presented it. I'm just kind of, we wrote this out just assuming I'm speaking on your behalf, that it was gonna be what the board wanted to document. So no, it doesn't need to be read,
But we do
yes,
need
you could
to,
if you wanted to.
Josh, do we need to approve it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the agenda, later in the action items.
Yep.
So yeah, that's just a simple compliance piece. We do it every year, so. Any questions on that or anything else?
There's two subheadings here. There's one for 21, 22, and 2023. So it's just memorializing that we did it this year and that we're committed to doing it again next year, essentially.
Yeah, and the resolution kind of says
Yes.
what we spent it on and what we will spend.
Okay, got it. So that takes care of both of those. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions for Josh? All right, I'm gonna keep things rolling. Teacher liaison
Thank
report.
you, guys.
Thank you. There's nothing there. Natalie, you're up. Office manager's report.
I just have a pretty quick report for the end of the school year. It's mostly on enrollment.
Natalie, I'm sorry. Chris, can you hear Natalie? Yes? Okay, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I don't want to have to tell it later what you said.
Yeah.
I
Let me know if I
appreciate
need to
that.
get closer. Okay, so as far as enrollment, we currently have, we're going into next year with 260. We do have offers out. We had a little bit of movement with students leaving us. And then some of the students that had registered as new students have dropped out. So right now we are full for the 5 TK students, and then we have 22 confirmed in kindergarten. And so we've sent another 3 offers out. We have 28 in first grade, so we have 2 offers out there, and then we're full in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And in 5th grade, we did have 2 drops, so we have 2 offers out, and we have 28 confirmed. And then 6th, we're full, and then 7th, we have 29 with 1 offer out, and then 8th grade, we have 28 with 2 offers out.
2 weeks ago, we said there were 2 in 5th. Did we make offers? No one's accepted them, or we're still waiting for the first people made offers to?
No, so these are still the 2 same offers, but we're now going to the wait list.
Okay,
So the other
thanks.
2.
The first couple offers for a wait list didn't take.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. And do you know how long the wait list is for 5th and, well, the ones that have openings?
We still have wait lists, small wait lists in most of our grades. The only one that we don't have a wait list, I believe, is 8th. We only have 2 more on our wait list for 8th grade. So if the 2 offers don't take them, we only have 2 more.
Okay.
Okay, we do have a small wait list. We're short. We usually have about 90 going into the summer. Right now we have, I believe it's 26. So the enrollment, the applications have dropped.
If somebody wants to enroll or apply and get
The
on a wait
application
list,
is open, they can submit an application, and they'll just be added to our wait list.
great, thank you.
Anything else?
That is pretty much it. We did finalize grades on Monday, so the teachers are done. We sent out report cards today, so family should be getting them in the next day or 2. We also met with San Diego Unified today for the universal meal plan for next year. So we met to kind of solidify our plan for going into the summer and next year. And they're supposed to come back on Friday to do a walkthrough.
Do a walkthrough to verify our compliance compliance with the health department stuff or just to?
No, just more or less to see the area that they're gonna set up in, because they are gonna give us hopefully some equipment that we'll have to have cold and warm.
Is it equipment they're giving us or equipment that they're
It's
going to
gonna
be
be part of
using
the
on site?
MOU, so they're funding it to us.
Great, thank you. IT report, Christian.
Business as usual. Right now, I'm currently just working on my summer to-do list before the end of June. After that, I'm gonna be on vacation from July 4th to the 16th. I'll be having very limited communication because I'll be in London and Paris. So I'll try my best to answer any emergency emails.
I can't actually hear Kristen. Yeah, Kristen again with us.
All right. Hear me now? I was saying
Yeah,
business
that's-
as, hear me now? Good. Perfect. Business as usual, working right now on my summer to-do list. Trying to have everything ready by the end of the month.
And how long when do you leave and how long are you out?
I'm gone from July 4th through the 16th.
Will the new website be launched prior to your departure?
July 1st will
Excellent.
be the first one. Will be there.
That's when all the links will be live and
Yeah, everything, pretty much everything will be live.
Great.
July 1st will be the website.
We're all very excited.
Christian, when will the website?
Next year.
That's a
Hey,
Friday.
don't say that.
You're gone on Monday. Oh, buddy. We hope there's no bugs. We're not harassing you in Paris and London.
No, that's the best thing about having Edlio, that you are able to, I'm able to communicate with them, and we have our own personal tech that takes care of everything.
Oh, great. Okay.
So if there's a glitch or there's something, then I can just let them know. And even teachers have the access to be able to communicate with the reps, since we have our own private rep, and any changes that could be done.
Great.
And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you. Walker. Big brother, you're up. Real estate advisory panel update. You're on mute.
Since our last meeting on the 8th, we have identified one property that is of interest. It's hotel in the hotel circle area. Right now, the concern that's being looked at, the only potential pushback is proximity to a pipeline, and the San Diego Unified City Schools project management supervisor is looking into that. If we pass that hurdle, then we can get serious with looking into existing people in the building that are leasing their term, and also other structure, it's wood framing, and looking a little bit deeper into the validity and the ability to move forward with the project. So once we hear back about the pipeline, then we can further pursue this property. But aside from this, sent the list out for all the other properties we've looked at and identified. There's still a couple that are open, and as always, we're still looking for any additional leads that may come our way.
Thank you. Any questions? Was this sourced from the brokers or other ones?
Yes, it was the Colliers. This was part of their letter writing campaign. They've done two, and this second one had 3 or 4 leads and prospects, and this was the one that was closest to Old Town and had a couple others that they recommended for us just too far south. A couple of them, or one of them in particular, when we were looking at it and going through it with them, they realized that it was too close to the freeway to actually pass muster with San Diego Unified.
Yeah, I think just echo what Walker's saying, any and all leads are welcome. James had what looked like a really promising one. And to Collier's credit, they'd already done their due diligence on it and immediately shot it down, but we will take any suggestions. All right, I'm gonna keep things moving. Board discussion. Jeremy, board election results.
Oh, yeah. So the election this year was pretty exciting. We had 6 candidates vying for 2 open seats. There were a total of 311 votes cast, which is a bit, that means that 188 ballots were submitted. But that was 37% of a turnout, which is not, it's not great for, but it is the best turnout we've had in the last 5 years. Just going back, last year was 14%, year before 23, year before that 23 again, and the year before that 15. So 37 meant that we had a lot more engagement, and the fact that we had 6 candidates was a lot more engagement than we usually have as well. So I think I took both of those as good signs. The folks who came away with the plurality of the votes were Kate Johnson, who's here with us, and Daniel Wang, who was going to join on Zoom, but I'm not sure if he did. Both very strong candidates, and I'm excited for them to join this board next year. So their first meeting will officially be the first meeting of the next school year. This is officially the last meeting of the current city. I will, as this is my last board meeting, I will be passing on the kind of election procedures that we've been undertaking over the last 5 years to use that, just so that you can, hopefully pass that responsibility off to somebody else going forward. And I have written, but I haven't. I'll present it at the next board meeting, or I'll give it to you to be presented next board meeting. A board election policy that'll outlines, kind of everything that has to be done so that that can get voted and approved and kind of act as an amendment to the bylaws, just so that it's not there isn't just one person who knows how to hold it.
And is that in addition to the setup that's already there? So, or is it to replace?
No, it's in addition to.
Okay.
So the bylaws as they're written now lay out the size of the board, kind of hint toward its kind of ideal composition, but they don't. But then every time anything specific, it says refer to the board election procedures, which never were written, I guess. But they don't exist as far as I can tell. So, but I've written them, and so I'll pass those off so they can vote it on, and adopt. But basically, the ins and outs of it are just that, establishing a master voter list, for, and then when to identify candidates, how to deal with appointments versus elections, all that, the timing of all of that. So that's just, but that, and that's the other thing, is that we had one additional open seat that was filled by an appointment. And that's it. And then if anybody wants details on the election, the kind of, if anybody's interested in auditing the results, the election all takes place on a third-party website. I can get anybody access to that. Dig through the data. Not that exciting. Yeah, that's it. And congratulations. And Kate, I don't know if you want to, say anything or.
Excited to be here.
You're not allowed to talk until next month.
That's what I thought. Keep it short and sweet.
And I just excited. It's gonna be a good group.
Great. Thank you for your diligence with this and the leadership. And it's a complicated process, and you distilled it down really nicely. And I appreciate you taking a crack at trying to standardize everything so we can carry it forward. Also, there's going to be a Turner on the board next year that's going to help us to steer the ship.
That's right.
Have the election.
A far superior turn. Joining. That's I think it's important to have it kind of written down.
Yeah.
So it's not, nobody's reinvented.
It's just a surprise every year, it seems like. So I'm glad to be able to end that off. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, it says Lynn. Claire Talby here for the Parent Foundation.
It is. I think we should change it. You said Lynn last time too,
Yeah.
but we could update that.
Yes.
So
Noted.
Noted. So Claire Tully, Sally was gracious enough to come last time and give an update. We have not had a meeting as a foundation since the prior meeting, but I do have just a few updates. All of our roles are in transition. So if you're sending any emails to foundation member emails, they may or may not be fully established yet. We appreciate your patience as we get all of that turned over. We will be sending out a contact list and we'll send that to the board. We would love one in return. Is that also noted?
Contact list for board members?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
We would like one. We are working on documentation. That's going to be a big focus for us. I don't work well without things written down, so that's going to be a big push. We've been very lucky in having retained a lot of our institutional knowledge, who's been kind enough to put that information into documents for us, and we're just working on developing that out. We did fill the auditor role today. We officially voted that in, so we'll be working on auditing the foundation financials over the summer. You guys stole many people from us, so we've also lost Turner. So whenever we get a new teacher rep, we're going to be very excited about that. If anybody has any ideas, we'd love to know. We re-engaged with Qualcomm. There's a small grant up for next year. We've submitted for that. And there is a school beautification project maybe in the works.
As far as
The arts, how do we feel about the Spanish for arts? Are we on board with that? So we think that that's going to be on board. If so, there'll be some art that's being done over the summer that we'll be able to use for installations in the coming school year to replace some art that may be leaving campus or may have left campus. That's all for us.
All right, thank you. EO, principal reports.
Okay, I don't have any flip for you or anything. I just have some presentations, things that we have to have approved. The expanded learning opportunities plan is in the packet. This is a required program that all schools across the state must comply with. This gives us kids 9 hours of instruction over the course of the day. 3 of that is extended learning, so it's beyond the school day. We talked a little bit about this at the last meeting. The plan basically outlines the questions are specific. I put Mr. Phillips as the contact since I'm gonna have a few more days. And he read it. I showed it to him. He read it. We had some conversation about it so that he can make this happen next year. It basically is providing those 3 extra hours on a daily basis. It can be before school or after school. Since we start at 8 o'clock, ours is going to be fully after school. We already have a program in place with the YMCA. We're adding and have talked about, some of those other classes, Spanish, maybe robotics, a variety. We have a parent who is willing to volunteer to help us make some of that happen, but we're also going to assign that to a staff member as sort of the lead, so we can make sure that we're tracking. We need to attract that. We need to make sure we are following all of the guidelines, which includes attendance. We've got to find out who's coming, who's not coming. There are certain groups of students this specifically is identified to support, including students that are homeless, disadvantaged, EL students. So that's a big component of much of what we do. And so we've outlined the program, safe and supportive environment. We have to explain, how we're gonna make sure that the place is safe. We're already starting on some facility things that won't really cost much. Making sure that it's an active environment and it's not daycare per se, that there are exciting classes and options for students that include everything from maybe engineering all the way to some, PE activities, mindfulness, those kinds of things. Skill building as well. We are incorporating homework assistance after school every day for a minimum of 30 minutes, Monday through Friday, as a component of the ELOP. There's a section on youth voice and leadership, so incorporating some of the things we're already doing on campus with virtues, but also all of those classes incorporating leadership roles for students so they can participate a little bit more. Healthy choices and behaviors, so we're talking about making sure we provide healthy snacks for students, and we're doing that through the school's meal coordinator. who is going to be assisting us and assisting Natalie with the school meals program. Diversity, access, and equity is another component, making sure that all students have access to this. And that it's easy in the sense that our motto is equity and excellence for all. So it lines up perfectly with things that we're already doing. Quality staff, so meaning some of our OTA staff might want to participate as teachers or instructors, but also all of those that we're already using that operate courses. Clear vision, mission, and purpose, those are all listed to provide a great after-school engaging program. Partnering with others, which we already do with the YMCA and some of the other organizations that offer classes here. And then making sure that we're improving the plan on a regular basis. So surveys, I surveyed parents this past spring, mostly to find out what they liked, the courses that we currently are offering, what they didn't like. We did get quite a bit of input on those classes. Additionally, we got parents saying, this is what I want. So they were asking for other courses. And then how are we going to manage the program? So this is the ELOP. This is the first year. From what I understand, it will not be audited the first year, which is a good thing for us because it also includes a 30-day outside of the regular school year 9-hour day. And we are not prepared for that. We started already with Martha offering her program, the Spanish through Art program, which is about 4 hours a day. But trying to get the other 5 hours was difficult for this summer. So we've got our foot out there. She's doing those 4 weeks of classes, but it'll give us a chance to start grabbing more courses that maybe we can offer in the summer because we're required to do it.
Right. Is the requirement on that, who funds that? Can it be like the kids are paying for a camp, we just have it available to us?
Yeah, it's both.
Okay.
So we received $50,000 so far as a startup. We haven't really used much of it other than the time we've spent pulling this all together and paying attention to webinars and trainings and things like that. So that money can go towards, supporting the program over the course of the next year. As far as if that's an annual funding amount, I don't know that answer to that yet. And so the focus again back on who we're required, everybody has to have access to it. Who pays for it is another component. So really focusing on those students, the underserved, underprivileged students, the homeless and the EL students, those are some of our focus areas that were required. So if students, for example, qualify for free and reduced lunch, then they would get the programs for free.
And that comes out of our budget.
So we don't have all the details on where it's coming from at this point. I do know that, for example, some people offer free spots for students and scholarships already. As we don't have any details on, this year we have $50,000. We can spend it on what we need. But as the program moves forward, I think more information is going to come about. I believe that the reason that they postponed the requirement for the audit this year is because everybody was shouting, there's no way we can throw this together, and the school lunch program and the mandatory TK and all those other things that we're required to do in 1 year.
In our budget that we just looked at with Josh, for this ELOP, we don't have anything in for 21-22, but he does have 50,000 in for 22-23. Is that
That's the 50,000. We didn't use it for this year, even though we spent a lot of time on it. We didn't use the actual funds for it. Okay, that's it.
The ELOP.
That's it on the ELOP. Unless you have questions. Anybody have questions?
Zoomers?
So next up is LCAP. Ready for the LCAP? So Turner Watts is going to actually do the presentation on the LCAP, and I just want to say a couple of things about the LCAP. It is a local control accountability plan, and basically we receive funds from the state, and what this does is we allocate funds for specific items within the plan. The plan is to be put together by a group of people. If you remember last year, we had a plan that was more difficult for us to decipher the money, the goals, and what we did or didn't do, because it was pretty up and down this past year, obviously with our director leading. And so we received help from CSMC to train. I started down that path and then started working with Turner on it because we needed more people. It's not a one-person job. And so we ended up switching over the training to him. We didn't use the additional funds. I think we set aside $4,000, so I think we ended up using just the 3. And he went through quite a bit of training with CSMC on how to put the plan together. He's done a great job. So he's gonna give you a little bit of a presentation on what that is. And if you have any questions, he would be happy to answer them, or I.
Yeah, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? On Zoom specifically? All right, I'll get started. So basically, I'm going to try to be quick because it's pretty long, but the first few pages here are just a visual aid for, so you can kind of see our total funds here on the graph, and on the left, and then on the right is the LCFF funds. And then on the next page, page 3, actually, you get a graph that shows our total budgeted general expenditures and then our expenditures for the LCAP. Sure. So I'm going to jump into the actual LCAP starting on page number 5. So essentially with the LCAP, what we're trying to do is, state is giving us these funds and we want to have a plan, a detailed plan of how we're going to use those funds, what they're going to those are outlined in the action section. You can see action numbers and on the right, the total funds that are attributed to that specific action. The goal, you might notice the goal.
You know,